close to the end, episode 16 of the Adamant Reviews, Black Echo. Forgive the quality which makes it look and sound like it was recorded in a well. This episode did quite a lot of sitting around in a dark room while others like were mercilessly destroyed in a process that included the use of ovens. Insert tasteless and inaccurate comparison to Anne Frank here. Fuck you 1970s BBC. In the lineup of the series as a whole, this comes in at Season 2, Episode 1. I suppose that of all the Season 2 episodes to have, it's the best one. Why? The Return of the Face. Last seen in one scene in the first episode, and in all the flashbacks since. This episode's called Black Echo. It's an appropriate title. Everything's echoey as hell, and 31% darker than usual. We open in what looks like the Hermitage Museum, British branch. It could happen. The British Royal Army's Museum is a branch in Louisville, Kentucky. And unless I'm very much mistaken, which I often am, that guy's driving a honey wagon. And he's filling it from the manor house's septic tank. Adamant, I know you're still to give me three-breasted hookers, but this is almost as good. The guy, who's meant to be working, decides to head towards an open door in the manor. This is a guy who's not going to have a job long. He gets scared by something horribly, terribly off-screen, and I'm just going to guess it's the painting of Adamant that absorbs all the damage he gets. Ah, hell yeah. He made a geyser of shit. That's even better than a three-titted hooker in Adamant. To get that, I just need to take a clip from Total Recall and make it black and white. Just in case we forgot that Adamant was frozen in 1902, these guys are on hand to explain it and show off this nifty picture from St. Petersburg in 1901, when he was visiting and they had a rule that all Englishmen needed to dress like Sherlock Holmes. These guys are trying to work out if a woman in the photo with Adamant, a Russian Grand Duchess, is the same woman who's now old and living in the English answer to the Hermitage. Before you can say, Don Bluth might be able to make a derivative animated movie starring Christopher Lloyd about this, Adamant's been hired to find out if the old woman is really Anastasia. Yeah, her name's not Anastasia in the episode, but it's supposed to be her. Anyway, it's a weird mission and there's not that much scope for killing. But still, where there's a will, there's a way, and with Adamant there's always a will. To kill! Before going to see the Anastasia stand-in, Adamant heads back to his house and Miss Jones baffles him by asking for a newfangled thing called a Coke.
Dear Miss Jones, would you care for a cup of tea before you leave?
No, thanks. I wouldn't mind a Coke, though.
A Coke, though? Is that a beverage?
The Illustrated London News.
Thank you, Sim. Miss Jones would care for a Coke, though. Do we have such a thing?
A Coke. Ice-cold Coke.
Given they were around for nearly 20 years before he was frozen, and he's been out of ice for about a year now, I'm putting this down to him dicking with her. He's sure the lady is genuine because his fiancée Louise, who betrayed him in the pilot and has haunted us in almost every episode since in the form of flashbacks, was given a brooch by the Anastasia stand-in, and now the stand-in has the brooch back. Meaning, Louise gave it back to her sometime after Adamant was frozen, and possibly because she was feeling guilty or some shit. Adamant comes to visit the Anastasia stand-in's house, and, I think Verity Lambert got the show mixed up with the other show she invented in the mid-60s, because she appears to live in the 17th century. No problems, though. Adamant will just have their meeting and then hop back into the TARDIS and hopefully end up in a less disagreeable decade. Though hopefully never have to regenerate into David Tennant. So, how will the show handle the poignant moment when Adamant meets someone from his own time? Well, with fades. Very weird choice. Reminds me of the faces in space from William Hartnell's era of Doctor Who. But maybe I watched too much Doctor Who. Even though I can't think of anything Doctor Who related that this bizarre piece of directing reminds me of.
I can see you both. He was tall and slim with chestnut-colored hair.
Behind the Anastasia stand-in is her granddaughter. Though from that shot, what with them having similar hair and clothing styles, it looks like it could be a shot from an early precursor of single white female. So, because Anastasia can't remember what happened to Louise, who was a casual acquaintance, or when Louise gave the brooch back, Adamant decides that something must be up. Because a woman in her 80s couldn't have a memory problem, and Adamant couldn't have made a mistake when it comes to women's jewellery. Makes you wonder what he spends all of his sexual energy on. When he visits a jeweller's, do they need to install a sperm guard? So, Miss Jones calls Adamant while he's at the banker's, because she has everyone in the world's phone numbers. She's been talking to the guy from the tanker at the start of the episode. The guy saw something terrible, terrifying, horrible, and when they finally get round to showing it, it's sure to be terrible, terrifying, horribly disappointing. And the truck he drove was an oil truck, not a septic one. Which makes me wonder, was he breaking the law before he entered their house without permission? And you know, I wouldn't mind Miss Jones randomly doing more investigating than Adamant. I just wish they wouldn't shatter my geyser of shit-based illusions. Anyway, Adamant's convinced of something to do with infamy.
Gentlemen, I am absolutely certain that some infamy is afoot at Mead Hall House.
So even though Adamant flat out tells her to keep away from the house, she goes and breaks in. I know it's the second last episode, but can I please get one scene where she gets arrested for this? They arrested her for shoving a gun in a bank teller's face. Surely they can do this. It'd be a great scene. She'd claim immunity, and the cops would tell her that only Adamant has immunity, and only for killing. Anyway, Miss Jones is in the basement. The same place the tanker driver was when he saw something that drove him mad. And the basement really seems to exist inside Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal. Interesting design choice, studio-bound medieval Gothic. Do you think there's many interior decorators that specialise in that? Miss Jones finds Adamant's nemesis, the Face, frozen, in a glass coffin. So this is what scared the tanker guy away. That's pretty crap. A gimp on ice surrounded by fake-looking stone and some torches. Anyway, Miss Jones gets captured. Because she's Miss Jones. She annoys Adamant and Sims, flouts the law, goes undercover and gets captured. It's what she does. The Face comes to life and says stuff to Miss Jones. Unfortunately, a mix of the audio being bad and the fact that I don't speak Ice Warrior means I have no idea what he says. Seriously, people were bitching about Bane's voice in the Dark Knight Rises trailer. I think he might want to kill Anastasia for daring to be old. The bitch. Finding out that Miss Jones has gone missing, Adamant assumes she's been captured at the mansion, because where else? Adamant arrives back with the guys from the bank who don't believe that Anastasia Stanton is who she says she is. I'm guessing he brought them along because the extra targets make the fights even more fun. He leaves the bankers with the Anastasia Stanton because upstairs he has something far more pressing to do, i.e. get into a whip fight. The man certainly has his priorities. I just wish wondering what the fuck the bad guys have been doing with Miss Jones was one of them.
Have no fear, Miss Jones.
I might get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down.
What on earth? I cannot understand why nobody answers.
Bitch who obviously isn't Anastasia but is Adamant's ex-fiancée Louise. You saw Adamant go upstairs. You heard crashing and now you can't access your men. And the fact that Adamant just stormed in makes it even more obvious. Put it together. He probably killed triple-figure men in your presence while you were dating him. Adamant worked out who she was a couple of scenes ago and sends the bankers and Miss Jones away so they can have a terribly moving scene together. Where we discover that Louise is terribly stupid because she thinks the Face, aka the Imperial Prototype Minion Estate, is still frozen and will give her a potion of youth soon so they can be together forever. Of course, the truth is a little more simple and less crazy. The Face ran off with a woman pretending to be Louise's granddaughter. Adamant gets taken down to see the coffin and vandalism is incoming.
Have no fear, madam. Your evil genius is fled.
One of the pieces of evidence that Adamant used to work shit out was the amount of oil being used in a house without central heating. The oil was being used to power the freezer unit that was keeping the block of ice icy. Logical, good, fine, but there's a slight problem. In the pilot, Adamant's block of ice was left at room temperature and didn't melt. He was in it for about 60 years. Why is the Face's block of ice less advanced than the prototype version used on Adamant? So Louise works out that the Face betrayed her and for some reason decides to take the youth potion that he left for her. And Adamant just stands there, having worked out it's poison because he's not as stupid as she is. And he's happy to let the bitch end herself by her own stupidity. Good work, should happen more often.
My face, Adam. The lines. Are they going?
Yes, time is leaving your face.
Ah, he loves me still.
Louis.
Adam. Adam, tell me. Am I beautiful again?
As ever, Louise. Beautiful as ever.
At least she looks down at her hands and realizes the truth before she dies like she lived. As a fucking idiot. Manly tears and they pre-create the end of Arkham City. No, hey, Mr. Adamant, wait for me, because apparently this is supposed to be moving. I've done some reading on this episode, and the original script had Rasputin and fire demons. I was this close to getting to see Adamant battle fire demons. You can't see it, but my fingers are really close together. This episode is dour, slow, and overall okay. It's interesting to get some closure in Louise, and having a recurring villain definitely changes the dynamic of the show, and hopefully it ended the fucking flashback clips. But there's only one episode left of the reviews because of the BBC's previous policy of destroying things that it might want to put on DVD one day. So I really have no idea what the Return of the Face and the end of the flashback clips really did for the show. For all I know, it turned it into a technical or musical animation about ponies. One more episode left, and it's a lot less noteworthy than this one.